Okay, so it's been a very long break this time, but um, I saw a video of me suddenly doing the class, and I kind of remembered it. And I'm like, I got to give this another. I'm going to continue doing it primarily for myself, but we're continuing the book again. Shara Bitachon, the Gate of Confidence, written by Rabbi ibn Pekuda. Right now, we've talked about what are the virtues of about the virtue of confidence in general. We described what gives us the tendency to trust other people, and now we are discussing. We're in the third chapter, and in this chapter, we're kind of talking about um, the different kind of ways that kind of I'd say the fallacies that we have when it comes to entrusting other people. And over here is just to remind us in terms of the chapters. So a way that now we could gain confidence in God versus only right the fallacies that we have when we entrust other people. We put our confidence in others, and these are their five things. One is that he should recognize that all those seven things that he is searching for, that he needs to trust someone else, he should recognize that that's not existent in people, not in a single human being, but that they exist when you entrust God. So have confidence in that. So now we're going to go into we've already discussed in detail six of them, and now we talk about the seventh way that those beliefs that we have, that we trust in God, are already manifested in God. And now we're talking about the seventh element of what makes us trust people. So we know that when God created this world, he created the world in a way that there is limitations. This world has limitations. This world isn't perfect. And every single thing in this world has a purpose, role, to an extent, but all the things that exist, all the things that exist from in their essence, they have a certain limitation or certain a definition. So everything could only fulfill to the extent of the functionality that it has. So something that is scarce, right? There isn't a lot of, there isn't plenty. But we know that, like, when in terms of this world, we know that the things that are plenty, right, are going to be plenty. The things that are limited, they're going to have certain limitations, regardless of what we want or expect from them. And also that within this world, things happen at the right time and at their place. So, meaning what we're trying to just say, there is a science in this world that we believe God created this world with, and every single thing has a role and a place and time. And the way that, in terms of, if you take a science, right, gravity is going to be gravity, right? You could try to mess around with gravity. The rule of gravity is not changing. And if it does, it's miraculous. And if it does, it's godly, right? It would be something that would be perceived as something out of this world, right? A greater power than this world. So now he's saying something really interesting. And the things that are different, who aren't operating within the norms or within these rules that the general world is created with, these are the things that are pre-existed prior to the world. So that we need to kind of understand that there's a reason, let's say, prior to this world being created, there's a reason why the world were created with these limitations, or with these I would say, in Hebrew it's called zdarim, and in certain orders, right? And part of that is that there's a certain reason, there's a certain DNA or something behind a concept or reasoning behind it, and those reasons have reasons. Meaning, when we look right now, let's say we see the rule of gravity, right? And you see something that something happens, you'll come and say it happened because maybe someone pushes an apple off a cliff. So someone pushed an apple, then it's because of that person, and then the apple also fell because of gravity, and that, right? So there are many. By the time that we engage or witness something, there are a lot of reasons, or a lot of different rules, or a lot of different manifestations that happen along the way that cause one particular thing to happen, kind of like a ripple effect, or the butterfly effect, right? Where someone could do one thing and someone won't be conscious of what started the whole thing. But you, as a person on the receiving end, maybe you're just walking down the street and an apple falls on your head, you're going to have another reason why it happened to you, right? And someone who doesn't understand this world can potentially think, so a person who does not understand, the different things of this world well, he will think that because something happened, it requires him to adjust and change. And that he has to kind of become smarter or he has to kind of gain a certain new awareness. As a siba chalusha, and that the reason is we'll continue and then we'll go over. כאשר נראה הגרגיר האחד מן החיטה מצמיח 300 שיבולים, ומכל ובכל שיבולת 30 גרגירים, והגרגיר האחד סיבה ל10,000 או קרוב להם. העלם כי כוח הגרגיר חלוש מעשות כמות זו, וכן שאר הגרגירים הנזרעים והנטועים, וכן נאמר בהוויית האדם ושאר החיים בטיפת הזרע, כמו כן הוויית הדג הגדול ביצת הדג עם קטנותה. Okay, so what we need to understand is, in essence, is the reason that we think why something happens is usually going to have a fallacy, and it's usually going to be perceived to be wrong. Why? Because we might think, our perception is that we are bound by these scientific elements of the world, in which in general we are. But the real inherent truth is that we're not usually aware of the of the real consequence of why something happened. So if it's a butterfly effect example is, okay, an apple fell, and so gravity definitely was at play. But what caused that rule to kind of go into action? What caused that? What triggered gravity? Well, it could be bad weather. It could be, so the way that we go about is we try to start thinking, hey, this is why. And then what we do is we take this false assumption and we build an entire philosophy around that misconception. And so he says there's a lot of things in this world that don't seem rational or reasonable at all. Just like, for example, if you take a grain of wheat, right, and you take the seed, right, of a wheat grain, you put it in the ground, that seed will end up helping you grow 300 grains, which doesn't make. Today when we look at it, we look at it as a very sober thing. Like, oh yeah, obviously this is how the world works. But when you look at all the seeds at a field of a crop of wheat, you're not thinking that it all started with one grain, right? And so kind of in the same way, recognizing that we have a limitation of understanding the way this world functions is an essential part of recognizing that there is a superior power in this world, right? That is kind of governing this entire reality we live in. מטרדת הנפש להקדים מה שאחר הבו יתעלה, ולאחר מה שהקדים ולהרבות מה שהמעיט, ולהמעיט מה שירבה מנקייני העולם מבלי סבב, אל קיום מצוות עבודתו וקיבול תורתו, חלישות, ההכרה באמיתת ידיעתו וזכות להבין טובות הנהגתו. So, the way that we are concerned, the way we readjust, the way that we react to this world, right, a lot of times is due to these fallacies. So kind of we have to recognize that this is one of our limitations, or one of our challenges or barriers to trusting, to confiding, or really fully giving our trust to God, because we tend to think that we got it down. We know, we're already on top of it. So, and when we have that feeling, then automatically that sense of that false sense of confidence that we have within even ourselves, or within, I'd say, the rules of this world, end up betraying us, because it's true that the world is governed, right, more or less by rules, but at the same time, the reason of why we perceive something to happen, in most cases, end up being wrong. And so we end up building a lot of these false misperceptions and philosophies that might not take us to the right place. So having kind of recognizing that and giving our confidence to God is at least here the lesson of the day. And have a wonderful day.